absolutely perfect and logical works, so it's not broken, why fix it? But if anyone's interested, we'll get them copies of the RTC submission. Just let Helen know.
Electronically could be sent out. Councillor Barker.
I'll just say that it seems to me this here is part of a modern day extension of the age-old argument as to who's going to fund roads. In New Zealand, originally, roads were funded locally, and in the far north, you couldn't move around until the man from Kaipara, Mr. Coates, who I always thought was a swear word when I was brought up. Forbes and Coates were bad words in my family, but Mr. Coates formed the National Roads Board and then funded the central roads out of government and out of their funding sources. The roads on the side were then left to local government to fund out of rates. There's always been this ongoing tension between local government and having a limited way of raising money for roads through rates, and central government being able to siphon the money out of petrol. And there's always been a feeling that central government has had the easier part of the deal. And there's been this constant tension about who's shifting the responsibility backwards and forwards. And this marks a new phase of where the lines are being readjusted. The other part of this, which isn't in here particularly, which concerns me greatly, is that it looks like there's going to be a reduction in the amount the central government will fund in the event of emergency. Now, having seen a number of areas which have been devastated by flash floods and so on, rips out the roads, and they're generally in areas which are provincial, they're generally in rural communities, where there's a low number of ratepayers, difficult and challenging roads, and therefore the costs are proportionally much greater. So this could have, these changes that go through unamended, could have a significant effect on communities such as Central Hawke's Bay, which has a lot of flooding from time to time, Wairoa, a lot of roads, etc. So there's a lot of important stuff in here, and we shouldn't underestimate the significance of this. And what Councillor Dick has said about the reduction for Wairoa, 1%, is a significant increase in their rate. So this is quite a significant shift of the burden of responsibility. So.
Okay, we're getting into commentary here. But any other questions? Someone happy to take us through a recommendation?
Yeah, just one more query, and it relates to the table at the base of page 71, which outlines total annual trips over a 5-year period, and that's actually by itself.
Oh, that's the next item. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I've got ahead of myself.
Points for expediency there, Councillor Scott.
Very minor correction to the submission, Mr. Chairman, on the second paragraph under introduction. Could we use the singular, please? It is therefore important the funding for these services is not cut.
There's just one other correction too, actually, on page, the second page of the submission. I think it's in that paragraph under recognising council's ability to pay. I think the second to last line, the word made should be may, I think. Not sure.
No other questions directly or directed at the submission? Can we get to the recommendation then? So you're happy to move, Councillor Scott? We have a seconder. You happy to do that, Councillor Pike? You wish to speak?
I wish whoever addresses the submission, I presume they're going to be heard, the best of luck, because it has a major impact on some councils, and I think we're going to be left holding the can for a lot of central government policies being imposed on ratepayers, which is totally unfair.
Thank you, Councillor D.
An allied matter, there is a bright spot on the horizon, which was pointed out to me by Jenny Chetwin today, and that is that it looks like there's soon to be some resolution on the R funding issue. Have you heard anything? No. Okay. It looks like there'll be a 200 million contestable fund set up, contributed to by everyone on an ongoing 5 cent per litre across the country.
It's just order, please, General.
But the metros will be excluded from applying for that money. So it's collected across the country, but it's there for provincial and rural councils to apply for their discretionary capital spend on roading.
Further comments? Wish to sum up, mover? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Right, let's move on. Councillor Bevan, here's your chance.
Yes, okay, so at the bottom of page 71, it actually...
Excuse.
Sort of
Apologies, Megan. Perhaps we'll just get a brief outline and then we'll ask some questions.
Okay.
It's been a bit facetious here, so excuse me.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The reason for this report really is just to give you an update on where things are at with public transport, and you've got some graphs in there which show you the total passenger trips. On the bottom of page 71, you can see there how well our transport is going, and you can see the increase there between 2009 and 2013. It's something like an 80% increase in passenger trips. So that's going really well. Over the page again, just a few more graphs for you. Super Gold Card to show you how popular the Super Gold Card scheme is proving to be. Likewise, bikes on buses. We're getting some very good feedback from people who are carrying bikes. Over 3,000 bikes carried last year. A little bit of information there for you on the total mobility scheme. And then if I could just draw your attention really to number 16, Route 12 capacity issues, which is the main purpose of the paper. We've been experiencing some problems with our peak time Route 12 service this year. That's the service that travels between Napier and Hastings. We've got a lot more people using those services now. We also have, there have been withdrawal of some Ministry of Education funding, so we're finding many more students using the services. And basically our level of service has undoubtedly fallen because of this. We've got services running, I've said they're 8 to 15 minutes late. In fact, we had a service running 25 minutes late this week. Carrying very heavy loads. We're having some passengers actually left standing at the side of the road. The bus is chocker, they just can't carry them. So it's very frustrating for the drivers. It's obviously very inconvenient for our passengers. And so we've had a very close look at ways in which we can remedy that, and that leads you over the page into the options there. Option 1 was to do nothing at the moment, but to address it as part of the Regional Public Transport Plan, and that's going to be underway. That process will be underway fairly soon. Option 2 is to increase services on Route 12, and GoBus Transport Limited have provided us with a suggested option there, which basically is 2 more buses thrown into the mix, and they will just operate peak times, morning, afternoon, weekdays and term times. There is a cost there of $141,000 per annum to deliver that service. And then option 3 is something that we've looked at very closely, because this option is cost neutral. This wouldn't have any impact on our budget at the moment, but that would mean the removal of a service that isn't doing terribly well at the moment. And that's Route 10, which is one of our express services, which travels through from Hastings via the expressway through into Napier. That service, patronage on that has actually fallen. It fell by 12% last year. We've got an average of 5 passengers per trip on that. So that service is not really doing, it's definitely not doing as well as our other services. So the option we've explored is that we cancel the Route 10 service and use those same resources to alleviate the loading problems we're having on the Route 12 service. Route 12 is between Napier and Hastings. Yeah. It's via the hospital. Yeah. Yeah. Through Green Meadows. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's not an express service, the Route 12. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much our flagship service, the Route 12, and most definitely the busiest service. Since 2009, passenger numbers on that have more than doubled, so that's that's our key route. So we're very keen to kind of fix the problem that we've got there. As our transport provider said to me, it's a good problem to have because it's showing how successful the services are, but we're very anxious to sort the problem out because we don't want to let people down. We want to make sure that people are getting to their destination on time. So that's the option 3.
Thank you. Let's have some questions. Councillor Pipe.
The express service, this is Route 10.
Route 10.
Does that work? Does that operate at a different time to 12? I mean, why can't you move some of the people that were going to Hastings from Napier on Route 12 onto that Route 10 bus, or is it quite a different time?
It's quite a different service. The Route 10, it only goes. There are 2 trips in the morning out of each centre and 2 in the afternoon. It was designed really as a commuter service, and it is an express service, so it has very limited pickup points on the route. So it's not convenient for everyone.
Councillor Bevan, Barker.
So just
Bevan,
looking at this express route, which is costing $290,000 per annum and is carrying an average of 5 passengers.
That's correct.
So that's
yes.
$6,000 a week.
That is 2 routes. That is the total cost of. We've got
Both
2
ways.
express services,
Right.
Route 10 and Route 11, and Route 11 comes through from Havelock into Hastings, through Clive and into Napier. So that's the total cost of both Route 10 and Route 11.
Right, okay, so it's $6,000 a week. We'd be cheaper to go and send taxis to pick these people up and deliver them, wouldn't we? That's just a crazy amount of money to spend.
It is, yes. It's an expensive service. I mean, we hope that if you do agree with this option, we're actually very hopeful that a lot of the people that are currently travelling on the Route 10 might switch to the Route 11, and so that will boost those numbers and make that a more efficient service.
I mean, it's clearly got to be stopped. It's just nuts.
Yep.
It just doesn't make any sense at all. Sorry, Councillor.
You don't want to go to the next pay, right?
Sorry, I'm going back to page 71, which I got ahead of myself on. And I was quite interested in these numbers. I mean, it's a good story that, the total number of passengers over a 4 or 5 year period have just about doubled, and it raised questions in my mind about the continuing level of subsidy. If this service has got so many more passengers, and yet it's just miles short of still being, sustainable on its own basis. And I'm wondering, is that because we're not charging enough, or is that because the total number of trips shown here is spread over a large number of buses or routes that we're offering? What could you explain a little bit more what lies behind the numbers?
We're currently looking at the moment at a fare box recovery of about 37 to 38%, and I know that, one of our objectives in the Regional Public Transport Plan was to try and get that to 40%. And we do have a fare increase on the 1st of September. That we've had a 3-year staged fare increase, and that will be the final one for this year. So I guess it's a balancing act in keeping your fares affordable for people, because a lot of people that use the public transport, this really is their only option. They don't have their own vehicles, so it is a case of trying to keeping the fares at a realistic rate.
Okay, yeah, I'd quite like to at some point see this in a little bit more detail so we can make some objective measurements on some of the services that maybe we also need to be looking to cut, because obviously there's 10 and 11. It's just crazy to continue to offer buses to 5 people a day. That's nuts.
I think it's fair to say that public transport anywhere in the country is very heavily subsidised. I mean, it's a service. It's a public service.
Councillor Grant.
I have a question, but before I do, it is subsidised, but our Route 10, is it, that runs stopping all the way, that's over capacity, so that won't be subsidised.
Absolutely.
How many buses can we move from that direct? Is it 2 buses that we can move to support our major route?
Yes, the intention is that we would have 2 extra buses that would operate. It wouldn't actually affect the timetable at all. They would just literally be thrown into the mix they would be an overload service basically.
Yeah, running 10 minutes apart.
That's right, yes, yeah.
Use their buses for sale in Napier if we use those.
They're not reliable.
Anyway, if they went between Hastings and Napier, they might get some passengers on them.
They weren't willing to accept our offer.
Let's make an offer.
It is a work in progress, obviously. Any other questions for Ms Wellesby? Someone happy to take us to the recommendation, which seems fairly self-explanatory actually, but... You happy to move, Councillor Dick? You happy to second, Councillor Graham? Thank you. You wish to speak?
It's a sensible, pragmatic thing to do. And we've already taken steps to advise passengers that changes are going to be made without being specific as to what they were. And Megan has put posters in every bus just saying to them, what did you say?
Basically apologising people for the delays and just to let them know that we are looking at an urgent measures to remedy the situation.
Yeah.
Seconder?
Yeah, I think it's really wonderful that people are using our buses on that route 12, and so I strongly support that we do this, and yeah, no more to say on the matter.
Other speakers put the motion, then all those in favour please say aye. Aye. Contrary no, carried, thank you. Let's